We're going to introduce our first guest tonight, and that is Marketing Director Tom Delehanty. I hope I pronounced it right, from Sequel Youth and Family Services. Welcome to the McCain Train.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
All right. Well, Tom, let me just say that you're going to see some pictures about Tom. I don't mind there being another attractive man in the building.
He said in the building, not just in the room.
In the building. And so, you're going to see Tom. I'm just letting all the ladies out there know that Tom is married. Tom, what's your wife's name?
Nicole Jacobs.
So just letting you know, because Nicole already put out there that, Tom was going to be on the show. She already claimed a man. So y'all need to just step back.
Lucky Nicole.
Step back. So, Tom, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing awesome.
All right. Hey, so tell me a little bit about the sequel. Because when my wife was telling me about him, and I said, the sequel, we ain't had him on the show yet. What does it mean when you say the sequel? What do you do?
Yeah, that was a nice touch. How you did that.
Yeah, I just got that. I'm a little slow today.
So Sequel Youth and Family Services is the name of the company that I work for, and we have programs all over the United States for kids, specifically at-risk youth. We have programs. We have a program here in Illinois. We have 5 other programs that are Illinois State Board of Ed approved. So basically that means that school districts from Illinois can send kids to us, and they can get reimbursed through the state.
Really? So, now, explain to a lot of people, what is at-risk youth, besides all of Chicago?
Yeah, when people say at-risk youth a lot, and a lot of times they don't explain what they're talking about. So when something's at risk, you think of at risk of not being able to, make it as an adult on your own, be self-sufficient, at risk of maybe getting in trouble with law enforcement, at risk of not being able to self-support yourself. Anybody can be at risk if they have, a certain situation going on in their life, no matter what it is. It could be a financial situation. It could be family life. It could be problems with the law. It could be educational. I mean, we could go on and on about it, but we want to try to cut those problems out. And our programs, we call them academies, so to relieve the stigma and when kids come to our places, they work on behaviors, but they work on their schooling, their athletics, being part of a team, being proud to be there. I got some amazing stories from some of our programs in the Midwest here that would just blow your mind.
Yeah, and we'd love to hear some of those stories. So, Tom, what made you decide that you had the passion to start this program?
Well, I did not start the program, but I've been doing this since I was an at-risk kid myself.
Oh,
were you? Okay, backstory.
Okay, here we go, backstory. Now, does the missus know this?
Well,
okay.
She does now.
Okay.
No, just kidding. She is listening, but actually I grew up in Lowell, Mass, and it was kind of a rough neighborhood. You saw the movie The Fighter, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so that was, the neighborhood
okay.
that I grew up in. And about 5th grade, I moved on to, a much safer neighborhood, but I still kind of kept some of those bad behaviors that I had, got in some trouble, and I listened to an unbelievable speaker which was almost 2 weeks ago. His name is Chad Varga, and we were just talking about this, Tracy. He spoke to 2,500 kids at Elgin High School, and you could hear a pin drop.
Oh, wow.
So as I'm listening because I wanted to come talk to our kids. But I'm listening, and I'm thinking to myself instead, and, some of the decisions I made. And one of the things that he said during that, it's so quiet in there. You could hear that many kids. He said, I want you guys to be selfish. We're always taught not to be selfish, but I want you guys to be selfish with this one thing. Be selfish with the people you surround yourself with.
That's good.
And show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. So I made a decision, and this brought me back. I made a decision to change my friends, and I met some of the best people that really, their families, and they changed my life. So, one of the best parts of my job is to go see kids in detention, and it's kind of their moment of truth. And I sit there and talk to them. I say, well, I was a director of admissions for about a decade in Arizona, so I got to interview all the kids. It was kind of cool. I'd go in there and talk to them and say, look, listen, you're sitting across from me. You've made bad decisions. I know what that feels like, but you can change. You can decide to do it or not. I'm not. I lived and made bad decisions myself, and I'm the director of one of the largest treatment centers in the state of Arizona. So everybody can kind of figure it out if you want to.
You know, the great thing about that is that, you know, you have some history with it. So, you know, they can hear you talking about it because you've had some trials and tribulations and struggles yourself that you've went through. And so it's not like, you know, for me, I always said I was like a goody two-shoes. You know, I nothing really bad, but I was never good enough. And I tell people that way. But the struggles that you go through, when you can tell another kid that, hey, I've overcame these struggles and I can help you, it helps a lot to know that, you know, that. And thank you, Tom, for sharing that, because kids need to know that a lot of times we don't want to tell them, hey, I went down the wrong track. Yeah. You know, I made mistakes. I did this. But yet here I am now. I am, you know, you're the director, right? I
was the admissions director in that role. And now, as a marketing director, I still interview kids. It's one of the things I love. And, you know, they'll perk right up in their seat when they hear that. You got in trouble?
Yeah, and you look at, you know, the outstanding man that he is now. You know, kids can say, hey, here's a role model that I can follow because he understands the plight that I went through.
Yeah, and it make him more relatable.
Yeah, I was a juvenile. I did get picked up. We were goofing around. We went to this house that was abandoned, and we were goofing around there. Someone called the cops, and they got us. And that was my wake-up call for me. So I think I was like 7th or 8th grade.
It's 7th or 8th grade.
Hey, he said he was a youth.
I told you I came from Lowell, Mass.
Well, I'm thinking he was going to say junior high school.
So Tom, you were saying, you know, at risk, you know, doesn't necessarily mean it's like, you know, lower income or something. No. How do you get a part of the program? Does the school have to, or someone has to?
So let me give you a different example. Okay. So here in Illinois, we get kids from school districts. We get kids something called an independent care grant. So it's ICG grant, and that is it's income contingent. It's not Medicaid, but it is through the state. The kids that get that type of grant are some of the toughest situations and some of the toughest, complex issues. Mm-hmm. So if you get one of those, you really need it. And
so help me understand that. Okay, you guys could get the kids from high schools, grammar schools, or whatever.
School districts, yep.
School districts. But is it that the child go to the sequel? Is that like a alternative school for them or something? Or is it an after-school program for them?
So, no, it's residential. So we have community-based services. There's about 10,000 kids every day that Sequel treats.
Oh, wow.
So some in residential settings, about 2,000-ish, and then, another 9 in community-based services. So... and that's more like you're saying, counseling and wraparound type services after you leave. But the residential, the kids actually live there. They go to school there, and whatever state they're in, they'll have like here in Illinois, we have an Illinois State Board of Ed approval for that school, and our teachers are all certified, and the kids are following their. Usually they're placed with an IEP if they're from the school districts. 100% of the time, and then other kids. They have a behavior support plan. There's a lot of ways they can be funded besides that. Private insurance. Probation's a big one for some of our programs that have more of the conduct disorder kids.
Yeah. So, are there some requirements that they have to follow?
I was wondering, too.
Because sometimes, if they don't follow the requirements, can they be put out, or how do you go about the requirements for that? Or
as far
they can
as
pretty much mess up
eligibility
or certain rules they have to follow.
Let's start with eligibility. So usually you're some kind of danger to yourself or others. You're being so disruptive that you're not getting the proper education. So there'll be a recommendation or a referral from the district. And then, as an admissions team, we will look and say, okay, here's Johnny's packet. We can meet his needs based on X, Y, and Z, or we can't based on X, Y, and Z. Because it's all about meeting the kid's needs. Mm-hmm.
Have a kid ever been turned down?
Absolutely. Because not based on, this kid's too bad, based on we're not the appropriate placement.
Oh, okay.
When you make decisions like that, you have to think of the milieu and the other kids. Someone's going to disrupt that or not be appropriate for that. Because most of the kids I interviewed, they don't want to go anywhere. So that wouldn't be a disqualifier.
Right. And you have a lot of kids at the point where they go into this AdRisk program is that they need this service very bad. They may not recognize it yet themselves, but it's a need to changing their lives over so they don't continue to go into a bad pattern. And so it's a great program. We're going to ask you this a couple of times, Tom. Tell us about the name of the program again and how someone can be a part of that program.
So some of the let me do the ones that are ISB approved, because that's Illinois State Board of Ed approved.
Okay.
So we have Northern Illinois Academy, and that's a program here in Aurora, Illinois. And that program is mainly dealing with kids on the spectrum, social and emotional issues, cognitive delays. We have kids that are nonverbal there. We have kids that are super high functioning, but maybe have some social and emotional stuff going on, Asperger's. So, everything in between. They call it the spectrum. So there's all types of kids there. And then we have, some other kids there that are just maybe not diagnosed with autism, but have some behavior problems, but not serious conduct. It's a very vulnerable population at Northern Illinois Academy, so the conduct disorder kids wouldn't be the right placement. So
and does that have to be documented with
so
medical record?
We'll get a psychological evaluation,
right.
Psychiatric. I prefer a psychological because it's a better battery of tests. You can find a lot more. But one of the things I always what I got pretty good at was looking at the paperwork. But you have to remember, it's just paperwork. So if you don't go see a kid, because nobody writes down the good stuff. they write down,
that's true.
Tom broke into a house.
Right.
You're
not. You want to see the light in the kid. You want to see,
absolutely.
the goodness of the kid. They're going to write all the bad things about it, but
that can follow you around.
Yeah.
So you go see the kid. You make a determination. The determination should we meet their needs? And as the admissions director, it was my job to advocate for the kid. Why can't we take this kid? Because you'll have that other side of it. Well, wait, you can disrupt my milieu here. Well, we're taking kids that are difficult kids.
Right.
So,
I have two questions.
Okay, you got
before
one.
they forget
Ask
who I
one
am.
Now. Can you tell us who you are again?
I said before they forget
because
who I am.
she thinks everybody knows her. She likes Norm, like in Cheers.
Because I don't talk enough, he says.
Yeah. So Tracy Brown, what do you have to say?
Well, one is a quick question. They take both boys and girls?
Yeah, some of our programs are specifically for boys, some are specifically for girls, and some are co-ed.
And what about that child who is, I want to say, a victim of circumstances where you're really not picking on nobody else, but you keep getting in trouble, so you're having emotional difficulties? Would they take those kind of kids?
Absolutely. We have plenty of that. Absolutely.
What's the age range?
So typically we go to 18. We have some programs that go to 21, so they'll stay there till their 22nd birthday. We are licensed to work with as young as 8. I would hate to have someone that young in a program. I think there's other places for kids that young, therapeutic foster care and such. But we are licensed to work with kids that young.
So, Tom, is there something like a level to the program when you start? What is the start and the completion of the program?
Yeah, the kids start. There's a level system, and all our programs have mascots. So for Woodward, it's the Knights. So when you achieve to the highest, you're in the Knights Club, and they're wearing the gear. I mean, these kids are 100% fully buying in. I know it's hard. I have to be very descriptive here because we're on the radio. But if you look through some of these brochures, I mean, they're on sports teams, and they're building up. These guys went to a state championship.
Oh, wow.
In this Division I in Iowa, went to Wells Fargo Arena, lost the game. But these are kids from California, Texas, Philly, DC. They're from all over the country put together and coached up to go to a state championship.
And, that's amazing, too, with all of the trials and tribulations that are going on to their lives, to be able to find something that they can combine together with and almost, win. I mean, most people think like, wow, they lost. But to get that far, is an amazing. It's almost like with the Chicago Cubs. They got to the playoffs. That hasn't happened in a long time. For these kids, getting that far is a success.
You should see the pride they have. It's a peer support, positive peer support model. So they'll all the staff kind of step out at first. We'll come in. There's levels of intervention, right? So there's 7 levels. So the kids start, by giving cues to each other, because you got kids at all different stages of their treatment there, right?
Yeah.
So if they see a kid struggling, they'll give them verbal cues, maybe nonverbal at first, and then they'll step in. Hey, man, you shouldn't really, you should probably try to do it this way. And it coming from a kid to another kid that just got there.
Yeah.
Whoa, I'm usually kids trying to rip on me or make fun of me, not give me positive support. This is kind of awkward, so that doesn't always start out great. But they keep at it, and they see these kids and they'll be in group together. They can explain some of their experiences, which are very similar. So it brings a lot to the table, and automatically they're like, wow, they're buying in because they see, okay, I'm doing it. I was where you were at. They can kind of like share each other's stories and be there for each other.
And that does definitely help. You were saying that you had some amazing stories to tell us. Give us a story about one child. So somebody out there that is thinking about bringing their child to this program know about the amazing things that have happened there.
So there's this one guy at a program in Iowa called Woodward Academy, and his name is Julius. And he was 15 years old. He came into our program. He had never lifted a weight in his life. He had been kind of in some violent stuff, and a lot of our kids are on probation. They get a chance, they get their one spot. And he came in, he joined the powerlifting club. Well, he proceeded to go on and break world records. And he actually competed over in the Czech Republic and came in second for his weight group.
Oh, wow.
I think he squatted like 600 pounds. And,
he squatted 600 pounds. When I heard that, I'm like, wait a minute.
And
he was squatted 6. That's a lot.
He was like competing against 18-year-olds, and I think he was 16 or just turned 16.
Wow.
So, yeah, this is a picture of him.
Okay. Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
16.
He has all the releases signed, so
yeah, okay.
no worries. But yeah, he broke a world record.
Yeah.
I want to tease Tom
Pretty
because
cool.
one of my questions to him was, do you feel that the programs incorporated can make permanent positive changes in the lives of the children? I guess so.
Absolutely. Well, we have kids come back. We have an open house. I'd love to have you guys come to an open house.
Oh, definitely. Yes,
See,
definitely.
we have an open house every year at Woodward, and I just brought a school district superintendent, and there should be more superintendents like this guy. His name is Scott Bloomquist from Winnebago County. He's already visited 3 programs, and these guys are really busy. But he cares about the kids in his district. He's come out. He's seen a program in Wyoming. And aside, this program right here, which is Illinois State Board of Ed approved, he's seen a program in Iowa, and he's seen the local one here. And I'm going to try to get him to anyone he wants. Anyone he wants to come see, I'm going to bring him. But he, you go out and see these programs, and you see the kids, and you hear them speak. The ones that come back, and your goosebumps get goosebumps.
Yeah,
you remember why you're doing it. It gets me charged up every year to go to Woodward. I get fired up, and I think I said to our CEO, I said, it should be mandatory because we have a lot of employees. We're a pretty big company for every employee at some point to attend an open house like this.
Yeah, it rejuvenates them, to know why they're there.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and to have some kids who have been a part of the program to come back is just another viewpoint for the kids to know they can be successful. Yeah. Talk about graduating or finishing the program. What happens there? Because you get this kid who pretty much was low risk, had all kind of issues, and now they're moving on. Talk a little bit about that and the success rate of that.
Yeah, they'll go through a regular graduation, and they're graduating from an academy, whether it's Lakeside Academy in Michigan or Albion Prep in Michigan or, Clarinda Academy in Clarinda. They're going through a graduation ceremony. There was one kid, and I think it was a Woodward kid, that this was actually written on paper like we were talking about. This is one of the worst kids Sacramento County has ever seen.
Wow.
And, so that teacher stood up there at graduation, read that right to the crowd. Mm-hmm. This is what a judge said about this guy that I'm going to call up here next. Called him up, and his mom was sitting in the audience. One of the proudest moments of her life was him getting that diploma because a judge said this was one of the worst kids I've ever seen. And guess what? Someone believed in him. And he believed in himself, and that's what, next thing you know, he's graduating.
That is such an awesome story. I work with some program called the After School Matter with my job, and I really enjoy being there. So that's why when you said come out there, we'll be, be 100% happy to come out there because we have to work with our kids and instruct them the right way. So you're saying as a program, do they go through
Here's
year by year?
This is my goal.
Okay.
Since I've been the marketing director for, because we have all these issues here in the greater Chicago area, and I have these programs, for kids in Michigan and Iowa that are very close by that are Illinois State Board of Ed approved. Because sometimes you got to take kids out of the environment,
right?
The problems happening. My job is to just talk to people every day. whether it's going to the offices, getting on LinkedIn and introducing myself to people, saying, hey, I just wanted you to know about our programs. I've been knocking on probation's door a lot. I go to a lot of conferences because there's so many kids that could benefit from the Woodwards, Clarindas, Lakeside, Albion Preps of the world, Mingus Mountain in Arizona.
Yeah. So do you do like videos or something like that sometimes, or to let people know?
We got a pretty cool website that shows you all these videos. The one I just told you about, you can see it yourself.
Okay.
If you go, it's www.academy.com, woodward.com. I'll give you the address.
Yeah, to think about it. Let me get that right. Talk to me about the Will to Work program. What is that all about?
That was how I kind of. I think it was my second after I was a teacher. It was a really cool program. So we would give tax credits to people that donated their vehicles.
I know what that is.
And so they get a dollar for dollar tax credit. And what we do with the vehicles is there'd be welfare recipients that applied to get a vehicle. Mm-hmm. So we would give them a car for the first time in their life. They'd have a car, and I'm talking about a car that runs, works, doesn't need to be breaking down all the time. This is a solid car. So they would get that vehicle, and they would be able to go to the market and get their, all their groceries. They would be able to, drive to a job and not have to worry about, 3 different bus routes or a walking in, inclement weather. So, that was another one of my favorite jobs, because to hand the keys to someone that's never had that and just
feel like Oprah, don't you? You go, get a car, you get a car.
I mean, they'd always be choked up, and if you didn't have, you'd have to have no heart to not be like to. Get a little choked up yourself, but it was a neat program. It got a Governor's Excellence Award, and I was part of the founding team that started that program in Arizona. It was a nice job. It went away after a year. After getting an award, they cut it.
Say okay.
So, Tom, again, give us the address. We're going to ask you to stay, a little bit for the show. We're going to be doing some different things, but we're going to bring you back in and out for the next half an hour. Give us, again, the address, the program, and how someone can get in contact.
Yeah, so if you want to check out all the programs I've been talking about, you can go to sequelyouthservices.com. That's SEQUEL, youthservices.com. And it'll have the Woodward, we'll have the Lakeside. And so we have staff secure programs, we have secure programs, and we have PRTFs, which are psychiatric residential treatment facilities.
All right. So, well, I'm going to tell you something. I'm thankful to God that there's someone like you and programs like that out there, because we need them. We definitely need them to help our children. There's no joke when you say children are our future. If we don't realize that and we don't take them at their worst, like you just said, the judge said this is the worst kid possible. The worst can be the greatest if you believe in them and you show them that they can believe in themselves.
Watch that video. You'll be choked up. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, we'll definitely watch that. Tom, again, I'm just going to say, tell again where we can get this program so people can hear that again.
So it's sequelyouthservices.com. It has a drop-down menu at the top where you can see all the different programs and navigate that site. So sequelyouthservices.com.
So can you stay with it for the next half hour?
I'll stay as long as you want.
And then we'll have them talk with us again. So we're going to go into our next program. Tom, thank you very much for sharing about Sequel. Baby, what we got next?
Point of View by Donna Terrell, and you said it so much better than I do with Mr. Chris Rock promo.
Yeah, we're going to Chris Rock promo, which is actually not Chris Rock. We don't want Chris Rock to sue us. It's just a voice interpretation. But this is Reverend Rick McCain along with my baby, my girl, my boo, Alta Brenda McCain, Tracy Brown Howard, and Dion. We'll be right back after these commercial breaks.
Chris Rock, and you're listening to Rick and Brenda McCain on Let's Stay Together Talk. I love this show.
Good evening.